I stood in the doorway of my daughter's home office, my hand frozen on the brass knob, my heart beating so loud I was sure the neighbors could hear it through the walls. The room was dim, only the glow from her open laptop lighting the desk. I had only come in to borrow a phone charger. Mine had died while I was watching Jeopardy! In the living room. Rachel was in the kitchen with Kyle, laughing about something on their phones. The kids were already in bed. I saw the white cable on her desk and smiled. Perfect. Why wouldn't have to ask? But when I picked up the charger, the laptop screen woke up, and there was my name, right at the top of an open email thread. Evelyn R. Carter. Deed transfer and trust update. Should have closed it. I should have walked away. I know that now. But I didn't. I scrolled. And the world I had spent 73 years building crumbled in 30 seconds. From Kyle Harasanto. Rachel Carter. Subject: Mom signs next Thursday. Costa Rica booked. Once Mom signs the updated trust and deed transfer next Thursday, we're golden. Appraiser confirmed $1,850,000 minimum. Maybe $1,900,000 with the right buyer. By the time she figures anything out, we'll be on the beach in Costa Rica sipping margaritas. She'll never know what hit her. Love you, babe. Rachel's reply was only one line. Finally. Can't wait to be done pretending. I stared at those words until they stopped being letters and started being knives. My daughter. My only child. The little girl who used to fall asleep on my chest while I rocked her and sang "You Are My Sunshine" off key. The little girl I raised alone after her daddy walked out when she was 6. The little girl I worked double shifts at the diner for so she could take ballet lessons. The little girl I sold my mother's wedding ring to help pay for college. That little girl had just written "finally done pretending" about stealing my entire life. I stood there so long my feet went numb. I closed the laptop exactly the way I found it, put the charger in my pocket, walked back to my bedroom, the mother-in-law suite they were so proud of, and sat on the edge of the bed. It was 7:47 in the evening on Tuesday, November 12th. Outside, the first snow of the season began to fall past the window. Inside, I finally understood what it feels like when your child starts planning your funeral while you're still breathing. I did not cry. Not yet. I just sat very still and started planning too. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the dark of my little mother-in-law suite, the one with the slanted ceiling and the tiny window that looked out on their perfect backyard. And I let the silence teach me things I had never wanted to learn. Yet 8:03 p.m. I opened my phone again, turned the brightness all the way down, took screenshots of every email I could find. 47 of them. Some from 6 months ago. Some from yesterday. I saved them to a hidden folder I named insurance. Then I opened the banking app. My heart had been pounding for hours. But when I saw the balance, it stopped for 3 full beats. $723,400 in an account labeled Rachel and Kyle Harrison, joined with Evelyn Carter. My name was still there, but it was grayed out. Like a ghost. I clicked on recent transactions. $45,000 transferred to Harrison travel account last month. $22,000 to Costa Rica property deposit 2 weeks ago. $8,000 to Rolex boutique, Asheville the day after my husband's headstone was delivered. I took screenshots of every single one. At 10:30 p.m. I heard Rachel and Kyle come upstairs. Their bedroom was right above mine. I could hear the floorboards creak the same way they had when Rachel was 16 and tried to sneak in after curfew. They were laughing and talking about the beach house and finally free. I lay in bed with my eyes open and I made my first decision of the new me. I would not cry. I would not scream. I would not give them the satisfaction of knowing they had broken me. I would be quieter than they ever imagined an old woman could be. The next morning I woke up at 5:45 a.m., made coffee like nothing had happened, wore the same soft smile I had worn for 6 years in this house. Rachel came down at 7:02, still in her silk robe, hair perfect, even half asleep. "Morning, Mom," she said, kissing the air near my cheek. "You're up early." "Couldn't sleep," I said. "Old bones." She laughed like I'd told a joke. Kyle came down at 7:20. He always smelled like expensive cologne and ambition. "Morning, Evelyn," he said, pouring coffee into the mug. "I bought him for Father's Day 2 years ago. We're thinking of listing the house in January. Just so you know." I smiled over my cup. "That's nice, dear." Inside, I was ice. That afternoon, while they were both at work and the kids were at school, I went back into the office. I was quiet as a church mouse. I photographed every paper in every drawer. I found the draft deed transfer already filled out, waiting for my signature next Thursday. I found the Costa Rica plane tickets one way, January 15th. I found the realtor's pre-listing agreement for my house, $1,850,000. Asking price. I found the notebook. It was hidden behind winter coats in the hallway closet. Black leather, gold lettering, Project Freedom. R&K inside was a timeline. Month 1. Convince Mom to move in after Dad D's. Month 3. Get added to bank accounts. Month 6. Transfer deed for tax purposes. Month 9. Declare Mom incompetent using Dr. Patel, friend of Kyle. Month 10. Sell house. Move assets offshore. Month 11. Relocate to Costa Rica. Month 12. Live like kings. While Mom lives in state-funded nursing home, every month had a check mark. Except the last 2. I photographed every page. Then I did something I had never done in 6 years of living under their roof. I opened the safe. The code was Rachel's birthday, 0-1-7 closing parenthesis. William had taught me. Always use something. They'll never suspect you know. Inside was $23,000 in cash. Passports. For all 4 of them, new ones. Never used. And a flash drive labeled Mom. Just in case. I took the flash drive, left everything else exactly as I found it. That night I emailed the photos to myself from the library computer downtown. Then I deleted the email, emptied the trash, cleared the history. Just like Nora taught me last summer. I was learning fast. Wednesday morning I woke up at 5:33 a.m. and the house was still asleep. I made coffee, poured it into my favorite mug, the one with the chipped handle Rachel always said was embarrassing, and I sat at the kitchen island, watching the snow fall soft and silent outside the window. I had a yellow legal pad in front of me. On the top I wrote in careful letters, things I know for certain. They plan to have me declared incompetent next month. They have already spent $147,000 of my money. They leave for Costa Rica on January 15th. They believe I am too old, too grieving, too trusting to fight back. Underneath I wrote a second list. Things I will do before January 15th. I worked on that list all week. Thursday I called Margaret from the landline while Rachel was at yoga. Margaret answered on the first ring. "Evie, honey, it's 7 in the morning. I need your help." I whispered, "I need to disappear for a little while, but stay close enough to watch." Margaret didn't ask stupid questions. She just said, "My sister's condo in Charlotte is empty till March. Keys under the blue pot. You come whenever you're ready." Friday I went to the bank alone. Told them I was taking a little trip to clear my head after William's death. The teller, sweet girl named Tiffany, helped me open a brand new account at a different branch across town. Only my name, statements, mailed to a post office box I rented that morning under the name E. Rose Carter. I transferred every penny that was still mine. $723,412.68. Tiffany asked if I wanted to add anyone else to the account. I smiled the first real smile in weeks. No, darling, this one is just for me. Saturday I packed one suitcase. Only the things that really mattered. William's old navy sweater that still smelled faintly like him. The photo album from when Rachel was little. My mother's Bible with the pressed flowers. The red notebook where I was writing my evidence. I left the navy dress with the pearl buttons hanging in the closet. They could keep that. Sunday morning Rachel found me in the kitchen drinking coffee. "You're up early again," she said, pouring herself a cup. "Everything okay, Mom?" I looked at her, really looked for the first time since Tuesday night. Her hair was perfect. Her yoga clothes cost more than my first car. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "I'm fine, honey," I said, just thinking about taking a little trip. Clear my head and maybe visit Margaret in Charlotte for a few weeks. Rachel's face did something complicated. Relief. And something darker. "That's a great idea," she said too quickly. "You deserve a break. We can hold down the fort here." Kyle walked in right then, hair still wet from the shower. "Morning, Evelyn," he said. "Charlotte. Huh. Good timing. We're thinking of doing some updates to the guest suite while you're gone." I smiled into my coffee. "Take your time," I said. "No rush." Monday I called Dr. Chen, my real doctor, not Kyle's paid friend. Told her I was having some memory concerns and needed a full evaluation. She got me in that afternoon. 3 hours of tests, memory games, drawing clocks, word recall. When she finished, she looked at me with kind eyes and said, "Mrs. Carter, your cognition is excellent, better than most people half your age. Whatever medications you were on before, I'm glad you stopped them." I almost laughed out loud. Tuesday I went to the lawyer Judith Bell recommended. Walked in with my red notebook and my flash drive. Judith read everything without saying a word. When she finished, she closed the folder and said, "Evelyn, this is elder abuse wrapped in fraud, wrapped in forgery. We can have every penny back in your control in 72 hours and put both of them in jail by Christmas." I thought about Rachel at 6 years old, missing her to front teeth, asking if Santa would still come now that Daddy was gone. "No jail," I said. "Not yet. I want my money. I want my freedom. And I want them to know that I know exactly who they are." Judith smiled like a wolf who just spotted dinner. "Then let's make them an offer they can't refuse." Wednesday morning I left. I waited until they all left for work and school. Put my suitcase in the trunk of my car, the one still in my name. Left a note on the kitchen counter. Gone to visit Margaret for a few weeks. Back after the holidays, love. Mom. I locked the door behind me, mailed the key to Judith Bell with instructions, and drove south on I-40 toward Charlotte. I stopped once at a rest stop in Virginia, sat in my car and cried for the first time since that Tuesday night. Not for the money, not even for the betrayal. I cried for the little girl who used to fall asleep on my chest and the mother who would have given her the world without ever asking for a receipt. Then I dried my eyes, put the car in drive, and kept going. Because some things are worth more than tears. Some things are worth becoming someone new. I arrived at Margaret's sister's condo in Charlotte at 4:12 p.m. On that Wednesday in November, the key was exactly where she said it would be, under the blue ceramic pot with the dead geranium. The condo smelled like lemon polish and old books. 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, a little balcony that looked out over pine trees turning gold. I carried my suitcase inside, set it in the guest room with the quilt that smelled like lavender, and I did something I had not done in 46 years of marriage. I locked every single door behind me, and I kept the keys. Margaret arrived an hour later with grocery bags and a bottle of Pinot Grigio. She took one look at my face and opened her arms. I fell into them like I was 25 again, and the world still made sense. We didn't talk much. That first night, we just drank wine on the balcony, watched the stars come out one by one, and let the silence say what words couldn't. Thursday morning I woke up at 6:08. Made coffee in a kitchen that wasn't mine but felt safer than any house I'd lived in for years. I opened my new laptop bought with cash at Walmart on the drive down and created an email address. Nobody knew. erosecarter71@gmail.com. Then I did something I had never done before. I started watching. I still had the login for the Ring camera Kyle installed for my safety 2 years ago. He never changed the password. Arrogance or laziness didn't matter. I watched them come home that first night. Rachel walked in first, saw my note on the counter, read it out loud to Kyle with a laugh that turned into confusion when she realized my suitcase was gone. Kyle checked every room, opened the mother-in-law suite, saw the empty closet, the made bed, the navy dress still hanging like a ghost. He said something I couldn't hear, but I saw Rachel's face go white. They searched the house for 23 minutes, opened drawers, checked the safe still had the cash and fake passports, stood in my empty room looking lost. Then Kyle made a phone call, pacing the kitchen like a caged animal. I couldn't hear the words, but I could read his lips when he said she's gone. Rachel started crying, not pretty crying, ugly, panicked crying. Good Friday they called everyone they knew. I watched from Charlotte while Margaret made pancakes. William's old golf buddy, Tom, called me at 9:30 a.m. Evie, Rachel says you've gone missing. They're worried sick. I let him talk for minutes. Then I said, Tom, I'm perfectly safe. I'm visiting a friend. Tell Rachel I'll be in touch when I'm ready. He tried to argue. I hung up. Saturday they drove to my old neighborhood in Richmond. I knew because Sophie texted me a photo from her bedroom window. Rachel's white SUV parked across the street from my sold house. Rachel standing on the sidewalk staring at the sold sign like it had personally betrayed her. Sophie's text, Grandma, what is happening? I wrote back, Sweetheart, come to Charlotte when you can. I'll explain everything. Bring your pajamas and your appetite. She arrived Sunday night with a duffel bag and eyes older than 22. We sat on the balcony until 2 in the morning. I told her everything, showed her the emails, the notebook, the plane tickets. When I finished, she was quiet for a long time. Then she said, Grandma, I knew Kyle was bad news. I told Mom. She said I was being dramatic. I took her hand. You weren't dramatic, darling. You were right. Monday I started making phone calls of my own. First to the bank in Asheville. Asked for the manager, Mrs. Linda Chen, no relation to Dr. Chen. Just good luck. I told her I needed to freeze every account with my name on it. She asked why. I emailed her 37 pages of evidence from my red notebook. 23 minutes later she called back. Mrs. Carter, every penny has been moved to a new account in your name only. The old accounts are frozen pending investigation. You are safe. I cried then. Quiet tears of pure relief. Tuesday, Judith Bell filed the paperwork. Emergency injunction. Temporary guardianship of my own assets. Ironic, but necessary. Demand letter with every screenshot attached. Wednesday, Kyle tried to withdraw $50,000 for legal fees. Transaction denied. I watched on the Ring camera as he screamed at the bank teller through the drive-through speaker. Rachel stood beside the car crying. Thursday, Sophie and I went to the North Carolina mountains, rented a little cabin with a porch and a wood stove. We baked apple pie from scratch. We played gin rummy until midnight. We didn't talk about Rachel once. Friday, the letter from Judith went out. Certified mail. Return receipt requested. Inside, every email, every forged signature, every plane ticket. A single line at the bottom in bold. Return $1,850,000 plus interest and legal fees by December 31st or face criminal charges for elder abuse, fraud, and forgery. Saturday, Kyle showed up at the Richmond house now owned by a lovely young couple with twins. Banged on the door until the husband threatened to call police. I watched the Ring footage Sophie sent me and felt nothing. Not hate. Not even anger. Anymore. Just the cold satisfaction of knowing they finally understood what it feels like to stand outside a door that will never open for you again. December came in cold and fast. I was still in the little mountain cabin with Sophie, watching snow dust the Blue Ridge like powdered sugar, when the first white envelope appeared in Margaret's Charlotte mailbox. Forwarded from the post office box, no return address, only my name in Rachel's perfect teacher handwriting. I carried it to the porch, sat in the old rocking chair with a quilt over my knees, and opened it with hands that did not shake. Inside were 12 pages and a plane ticket. The letter began, "Dear Mom, I have written this letter 47 times. I burned the first 46. This is the only one I could finish without vomiting. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even expect you to read past this line. But I need you to know the truth. The whole ugly truth. Because pretending anymore is killing what's left of me." She wrote about the day Kyle showed her the retirement plan PowerPoint. About how he said it was just smart estate planning. About how she told herself it was for my own good. About how she cried the first night I moved in. But not because she missed me. Because she was ashamed and didn't know how to stop what they had started. She wrote about the forged signatures. About the doctor friend who owed Kyle a favor. About the night they booked Costa Rica and toasted with champagne while I slept 20 feet away. She wrote about the day she found my navy dress in the giveaway pavilion. Cried in the car for an hour because she finally understood what she had become. Page 9 made me put the letter down for 10 full minutes. I keep dreaming you're dead. I wake up screaming your name. Kyle says it's guilt. I say it's punishment. I don't know how to live with what I almost did to you. Page 11 was only 4 lines. I started therapy 3 weeks ago. I go alone. I pay for it with the money I saved for Ava's college. I will keep going until the therapist says I'm safe to be around you. The last page was a plane ticket. Charlotte to Richmond. December 23rd, one way. And a post-it note in her handwriting. I understand if you never want to see me again. But if there is even a tiny crack in the door you closed, I will spend the rest of my life trying to earn my way through it. Love always. The daughter who was finally learning how to be one. I folded the letter, put it back in the envelope, and I cried the first real tears since the night of the charger. Not angry tears. Not even sad tears. Relief tears, because for the first time in my life, my daughter had told me the truth. Sophie found me on the porch an hour later. Grandma, are you okay? I handed her the letter. She read it in silence. When she finished, she looked up with tears running down her cheeks. She's telling the truth, Sophie whispered. I can feel it. I nodded. I know. Christmas Eve I drove back to Richmond alone. The house looked exactly the same from the outside. Christmas lights twinkling, wreath on the door. But it felt different, like it had been waiting for me. I parked in the driveway. At 6:52 p.m., Rachel opened the door before I could knock. She looked like she hadn't slept in weeks. Thin, eyes red, hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. Behind her stood Kyle, arms crossed, face blank. The kids weren't there. Rachel stepped aside. I walked in carrying only my purse and the envelope with her letter. We sat in the living room I had decorated myself 20 years ago. Nobody spoke for 5 full minutes. Then Rachel broke. She fell to her knees in front of my chair, just like David did in the other story, and sobbed into my lap. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry I became everything I hated. Please. Please don't leave us forever. I let her cry. When she was quiet, I said, I'm not leaving forever, but I'm also not coming back the way I was. From now on, this is my house. You are guests when I invite you. The money is mine. The decisions are mine. The locks are mine. You want a relationship with me? You earn it. One honest day at a time. No more secrets. No more plans. No more for my own good. Just truth. Or nothing. Kyle opened his mouth to argue. I looked at him until he closed it again. Rachel whispered, Yes, Mom, anything. I stood up. Then we start with Christmas dinner tomorrow. You will cook. I will sit at the head of the table. And nobody will ever tell me to eat in the kitchen again. I will sit where I belong. I walked to the guest room that used to be mine, closed the door, and for the first time in 73 years, I slept like a woman who finally owned her own life. Christmas morning came quiet and cold. I woke up in the little bedroom that had been mine for 6 years, but this time the door locked from the inside. I put on the red sweater Emily sent me from Seattle, pinned my mother's pearl brooch to the collar, and walked downstairs at 8:09 a.m. The smell of cinnamon rolls and coffee filled the house. Rachel was in the kitchen, hair in a messy bun, flour on her cheek, trying to flip pancakes the way I taught her when she was 12. Kyle was setting the table. Real plates, cloth napkins, my mother's silver candlesticks in the center. Ava and Mason ran to me the second they saw me. Grandma. They hugged my legs so hard I almost fell over. Rachel turned from the stove, eyes red but steady. Merry Christmas, Mom, she said softly. Your seat is ready. She pointed to the head of the table. My seat, the one nobody had ever offered me before. We ate pancakes and bacon and too many cinnamon rolls. We opened presents slowly, passing them one by one. Nobody rushing, nobody checking phones. Ava gave me a drawing, 3 stick figures holding hands under a Christmas tree. Me, Mason, and you, Grandma. That's our family now. Mason gave me a clay ornament he made in school, a crooked heart painted red. Rachel gave me a small wooden box. Inside was the brass key to the front door, on a new blue ribbon. I had all the locks changed yesterday, she said quietly. This one is yours, only yours. You come and go as you please. This will always be your home when you want it. Kyle gave me an envelope. Inside was a check for $94,200 and a signed letter, giving up all claim to any future inheritance. I didn't want the money. I wanted the letter. I put both in my pocket. At 11:30 we bundled up and walked to the park. The kids ran ahead throwing snowballs. Rachel walked beside me, hands in her coat pockets. I started therapy again, she said. Twice a week. Kyle too. We're selling the Costa Rica tickets. We're paying for it ourselves. I nodded. Good. She stopped walking. Mom, I don't know if you'll ever trust me again, but I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to deserve it. I looked at her for a long time. I already trust the woman who cooked me breakfast this morning, I said. Keep showing up as her, and we'll be all right. That night after the kids were asleep, Rachel brought me a cup of chamomile tea, the way I used to bring it to her when she had nightmares. We sat on the couch under the same afghan I crocheted when she was born. I kept one thing, she whispered. She pulled out the navy dress with the pearl buttons, cleaned, pressed, on a hanger. I couldn't throw it away, she said. It's the dress you wore believing we were celebrating you. I want you to have it back when you're ready to wear it again. I took the dress, held it against my chest. Maybe next Christmas, I said. She smiled through tears. Next Christmas, she agreed. I flew home to Phoenix on December 20-7th, and Emily picked me up at the airport wearing the biggest smile I'd ever seen. We stopped for coffee on the way home, sat outside in the warm Arizona sun, and I told her everything. When I finished, she reached across the table and took my hand. Grandma, she said, you just taught me what real strength looks like. I squeezed her fingers. No, sweetheart, I said. You taught me. Because every Sunday when you showed up, when you asked how I was without wanting anything back, you reminded me who I used to be before I forgot. This story isn't about revenge, it's about remembering. Remembering that at 73, at 83, at 93, you still get to choose who you are. I chose me, and because I did, I got my daughter back too. Not perfect, not the same, but real. If this story touched your heart like it touched mine, hit that like button, subscribe, and tap the little bell so we can sit together again soon. Then tell me in the comments, where in the world are you watching from tonight? I read every single one, and if you needed this today, type the words I choose me too, because you do, darling. You always do. God bless you. Now go choose yourself.